Go.
Ms. Lazinski, please share the summary of your novel with the audience.
The higher power of Lucky. Lucky, a soon-to-be world-famous scientist, believes that her guardian, Brigitte, will go back to France. She runs away during a dust storm, then realizes her friend, Miles, is missing. She discovers Miles under a pile of rags and rescues him from the dust storm. The town finds them after the storm has stopped in an old miner's cave, hidden from the storm. Lucky finds that Brigitte was not going back to France, but to legally adopt Lucky. Lucky then spreads her mother's ashes, who had died 2 years ago after stepping on an electrical wire after a rainstorm, into the desert wind.
Thank you, Ms. Lazinski. You may deliver your position statement.
Okay. In this book, The Higher Power of Lucky, Lucky doubts her guardian. This would make kids skeptical and doubtful of their own parents, adopted parents, or guardians. And I know that in books that I have read, I've always wanted to be like the heroine in the book. And this could influence children to make bad choices like Lucky does. Also, in The Higher Power of Lucky, Lucky runs away from her home to deal with the problem she has. This could give children the idea to deal with a problem in a bad way, such as running away from home or yelling at anybody they may have a conflict with to make themselves feel better, as Lucky did in the book, both of us. And like I said, they might want to be like Lucky, which is not a good choice in the way that they're doing that. The Higher Power of Lucky mentions drinking, gambling, smoking, and eating disorders, which also isn't okay. Like I said, I've always wanted to be like Katniss in the Hunger Games or any other heroines in books, and that's not good for them to be doing. And The Higher Power of Lucky mentions a dog's scrotum. Thank you, Ms. Linden, for your time.
Ms. Clancy, you may now deliver your position statement.
The First Amendment to the United States Constitution, the first law that all Americans are to follow, is that no one has the right to infringe upon our freedom of speech and freedom of the press. This means that we all get to make our own decisions, and nobody can tell us what to read, say, watch, learn, and more. Therefore, this book, or any book, should not be banned in America. The book The Higher Power of Lucky was banned due to the word scrotum. A scrotum is a part of the male anatomy. The word scrotum is a medical term. It isn't offensive in any way, it's not inappropriate or slang, it's just a term used to describe a part of the body. The Higher Power of Lucky is about a girl's journey in finding her inner strength and independence through her struggles. By having this book to read, I can learn from someone else's experiences without having to go through them myself, which I can use throughout life.
Ms. Lazinski, you have 1 minute for your rebuttal.
Okay, so, like you said, the First Amendment, it doesn't allow anybody to decide, but the parents can decide whether or not they want their children to read this book. It's better for it to be banned for them to get something. You can also learn about any morals that happens in this book from anywhere else in another book or anything like that. And it's better to have this book banned to prevent anybody from reading it. But if you really want to read this book, you can always go to another library or order it online. And kids aren't missing out on this story. I didn't really enjoy it that much, and it doesn't have that much of a storyline. The morals in this book can be taught in any other book that you may find in any other library. Yes. Okay. And they can get it anywhere else. But like I said, this book doesn't have that much good morals or any good storyline that I like. Thank you, Ms. Lazinski. Time is up.
Ms. Clancy, you have 1 minute for your rebuttal.
You said in the beginning of your statement that anybody can read this book and that their parents can decide whether or not they can read them. That's my point exactly. Anybody can read this book, not their parents. You have the right to pick whatever book you want to read. Nobody can pick that for you. Also, it was banned due to a word that isn't even inappropriate. Also, it wasn't even referring to a person but a dog. You also mentioned that they talked about drugs and how it was openly talked about. Knowing about drinking and drugs doesn't mean you'll start doing them. It helps you learn and know how to handle situations that may involve these bad things. The way drinking and drugs were talked about in the book is how each person that did drugs or alcohol hit rock bottom. They weren't promoting drugs, they were convincing the reader not to do them. Also, drugs and alcohol are real things that are going on in America and the world. You can hide from them, but you can't stay away from them. And with the knowledge of how bad they are,